This is Brett Bingold from GPS Professional Growth and Development. Today I am going to talk about how to use the world's largest lesson bank to bring some rigor, relevance, and relationships into the classroom because a lot of their lessons include visuals. And if you watch the Powtoon and you read the article from Jennifer Gonzalez about not making your assignment a Grecian Earn project, you can see that a lot of these visuals, even if they aren't necessarily pushed as far as they could be pushed, can be pushed into the realm of like that quadrant D lesson that we are looking for. And it's a quadrant D lesson that could be achieved remotely, which I think is really cool. I found this website when I was looking for some Earth Day stuff for my daughter, and I just thought, wow, I want to use it all the time for things for her, just to be globally aware, I think. And especially right now, just talking her through COVID-19 and what that means and why things are the way they are at the moment. Things that she asks me, have you ever seen something like this in your lifetime? And I say, no, I haven't. I think that's shocking to her, and she's interested in what's really going on in the world right now. Um, Sorry if you can hear my kids in the background. They are playing right outside my bedroom door, but that's our life right now. So what I did was when I got to their website, I looked at learning um, for online and home during COVID-19. I think a lot of websites are doing this right now. They also have a special for Earth Day, but I think this playlist is going to come out a little bit too late. But I'm going to try to post it on our Facebook group anyways, just to get it out there. And then maybe you guys can kind of bump around the site on your own and see your thoughts on it. But this is just totally up my alley. So I wanted to just kind of show you one lesson that I'm going to be doing with my daughter this week. Even though she's 7, I felt like the age range was still okay. And I can kind of modify it for her. And it kind of gives you the time. I think it's really nice that they just give you the objective and all the different steps that you need to do. So it's like not a whole lot of planning on your part as a teacher, because I know right now teachers, students, and parents are feeling overwhelmed. And so I think this would be a nice break as far as science goes, but also just I think you could use it for social sciences. And weave it into maybe some of the stories you're reading for Ready Gen or Springboard or whatever your content area is. So step 1 is to ask students to think about and write down what are the biggest problems faced by your people in your community. And obviously, I think all of them are going to say right now the COVID-19 crisis. But I think it's good for them to think of other things that are going on. So we need you to think like you are the president, and use Apex 1 to help you think. So if you scroll down into Apex 1, it's problems faced by people today. And so, a couple of these maybe I won't obviously give to my 7-year-old, but I think depending on your student ages, this could be a really interesting WebEx conversation. But there's climate change, not enough energy for everyone to live comfortably, the breakdown of a community where I think right now we're seeing a lot of communities come together. So that's great. But does it take something like a quarantine to have that happen? Dirty water, hunger, people not feeling safe. These are topics that I think students want to talk about, but they don't feel comfortable or they don't have the guidelines or the means to share it with their peers right now. My daughter is sharing a lot of her concerns with me, and I don't even have all the answers for her. And so I think having units out there right now, I think last week I talked about loving first and teaching second. I think we love our kids and we love our students, and now we teach them that we need to love each other and that we're all in this together. This is really great visual. I'm sorry that it's sideways. Let me flip it. Let me see if I can flip it. No, no, no. Where's the arrows that make the thing go the other way? Somebody knows and they're screaming at the screen right now. Like, just flip it. Just do it. Okay, well, I swear there's a button that makes this happen. But anyways, this is Appendix 2. So this is something that is actually on their website. You can click into each of these categories on their website. I'll show you in a little bit. But these are their I can't talk, global goals that they want to reach by 2030. So I think seeing what's happening in 2020 today, looking ahead 10 years, what is the world going to look like? What do we want it to look like? I think those are great questions for kids right now. I think my 7-year-old is even wanting to participate in something like this. Okay, and there's the black and white version of that. And then ask students to Google search Global Goals Grid so they can see it. Obviously, that was down there. Again, though, there's a really great one on the website. If you scroll down to the goals, like I said, you can touch each one and read more. So good health and well-being. We are really stuck right now with the COVID-19 crisis. And so there's a bunch of different lesson plans and graphic novels and why things matter that are for all different ages. And I just found that to be super helpful. I mean, just it is health and that is real wealth, not pieces of gold and silver. It just struck a chord. And so I wanted to share this website and this resource with you guys. So if we go back to the actual lesson, their students are going to watch the animation part. It's super friendly. My 7-year-old daughter watched it. She totally got it. Immediately, she wanted to watch part 2, and they said, well, let's hit the pause and let's just work on part 1. Because it is Earth Day week, and that's part of her science was to do some Earth Day type choice. I thought this was a good incorporation of that. So when they watch it, ask them, what are the global goals trying to achieve, and why are they important? And I think you remind students to mute the microphones as they watch it independently, but it might be something you guys could all have, them open up a new tab, mute their microphone. Okay, everybody watch it. Then let's come back onto the WebEx and let's talk about this stuff. Okay. So I think this is a great way to do a WebEx meeting with your students. And then I think step 4 is where you say, okay, kids, we're going to end today after the video and our discussion, and I want you to now work on creating on a piece of paper, or maybe you can, on Google Classroom, shoot out a comic strip frame for them that shows them having some type of superpower of their choice. This superpower should be something that helps them achieve one of the global goals. So like it says them all achieve the global goals. I think that's too broad. For my daughter, I was just going to let her pick one of the 17 and say, okay, because she already thinks she's super Cammy. I don't know if anybody's seen her comic books that she makes, but I think this is a perfect opportunity to use a visual to connect their learning about something that is rigorous in content, for her to be able to do a deep dive into hunger and poverty as a 7-year-old, as appropriately as I can give it to her, and then have her make a visual as her as a superhero looking forward to 2030 and being like, what is something that I can do locally in my community that will help the global goals. I can't say that. I don't know what's happening to my voice right now. And then I think the next WebEx, you could urge your students to share their drawings that they created, or instead have them post their drawing to the Flipgrid and have them narrate why, like what their superhero is trying to achieve and how they're going to achieve it, and why they feel like that's important right now. And I think that is where you get that rigor, relevance, and relationships, because each kid may choose a different global goal. And the students are going to be able to see that as a community of 30 fifth graders, they can make a change, as they grow up. and that they can do something in the world to help others. And I think right now, in this climate, we have this idea that we're all in this together, and we hopefully are. But I think this is going to be super impactful for them as we go through this crisis. So that is something I think where a visual, if they use those stems that the video talked about, which is also in the article from Edutopia, how to use visual aids and visuals in your classroom, use those sentence stems and maybe even provide them those sentence stems, in this visual, I learned X. It helped me when I thought about this part of our lesson. And my overall goal is to this because I think this is important because, or come up with some STEM that you want them to use. That's perfectly fine because the STEM is just the framing so they don't get stuck on the idea. And then they can put their powerful message and their metacognition and the thought processes into that STEM and make that visual stick into that long-term memory about this lesson. Okay. And then hopefully they can retrieve that later on as they go forward into their educational career, learning about some of these topics. I think that is something that would be really, really cool. So this is just a quick lesson that I'm doing with my daughter this week. Obviously, visuals for any lessons are important. I think something that I, am super passionate about is visuals in the classroom. And I think I used to have my students at the end of the semester, they would make, so at the end of winter, like right before winter break, we would make ugly sweaters, ugly holiday sweater, but it would have to be designed with one of the pieces of literature. The group got to decide what kind of piece of literature they wanted their sweater to be, and then wove it into the fabric of that design had to be what they felt were the most impactful, important, essential skills they learned and concept they learned from the quarter. And that was their review. I wish I had pictures of them. They were right before I got sick, so I actually didn't get to take them down because I never got to come back after they made those. So that was the last visual I did with my students. But we had this kind of like ugly sweater competition, and I had like Ray with the Ancient Mariner sweaters, and I had uh, Bless Me Ultima sweaters, and like all the different like the literature was the basis, but it really was woven into what skills and concepts did you learn, and they would write them in, and it was so creative, and it was such good retrieval practice because they had to really think back through the entire quarter and think about, oh my gosh, I learned how to do this in this essay, and I learned how to write this, and I learned these power verbs, and I learned how to create an argument and how to do this. And they would brainstorm this together. And it was just because of this silly little ugly sweater visual that I just kind of came up with. And, then they were able to look at everybody else's sweaters and be like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot that. And they'd go run back and add it to their sweaters. And it was just, images can be powerful and they can really help. And they loved it. They loved presenting them. They were proud of them. They thought they were so funny. Those are all like memories and emotions that visuals can provide for students that a study guide just couldn't have provided for them for my class. So when you're thinking about your visuals, just remember you want to connect it to rigor and relevance. And it'll help build relationships because the students will have some passion and pride in their project. And they will be able to do that together in the face-to-face classroom. And they can also do it through a Flipgrid, seeing everybody's superheroes and how they want to change the world for 2030. That's a collaborative effort. That's a awesome thing. So that's my little snippet tutorial on visuals in the classroom and how that can help with metacognition, retrieval practice, and also self-efficacy. And I hope you guys are doing well. Don't forget to, post your success stories, post your struggles on our social media. We're here for you guys, and we want to help. We don't want to inundate you with too much, but we also want to hear how you're doing. It's isolating, and so I really love when teachers post their playlists and I get to look at them and steal ideas for my own children. And I miss teaching you all in person. And I hope you guys have a great week and a great weekend. Thanks.